afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Series with me, Kevin Britz, proudly powered by Leadership by Design, where we aim to add value to people's lives. You can catch us live every Wednesday and Thursday at lunchtime on ebizradio.com and all your major podcast channels today. If you are seeing this and listening, I want to challenge you to add more value to people's lives, because we certainly could do with a bit of value add to each other and a little bit kinder to one another, guys. And with that in mind, we've got Craig Page-Lee, our marketing and communications expert, back with us. How's it, Craig? How are you?
Kevin, I'm good. Thanks. Yeah, great to be chatting again, and really good feeling. It's a gorgeous day out there, hot as can be, and we're in the final run to the summer holidays around the corner.
Yeah, talk about hot as can be. It's like we've moved to like Durban or something. I don't know if you've experienced the humidity as well.
We spoke about humidity yesterday. It's just quite weird how, look, I think we've had some incredible rain, and that's definitely contributed to the humidity. We've had some serious hailstorms and mega damage as well, hey, Kevin?
We have.
I've been millions.
When I'm traveling, I kind of go, okay, let me just check the weather so that I make sure it's not about to rain or it's going to rain, or because I don't want my car to get damaged.
Well, last week there was a lot of social media being shared, TikTok and things like that, where a couple of the malls, the entire car park, every single car that was parked outside had a minimum of either one or both windscreens smashed to pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you see it on social media as well, it looks like it's not from South Africa. It's like it's that bad, because it's never really that bad.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see the actual climate change that we've spoken before about happening in real time.
Moving on from weather, how's the feedback going from folk who've read your book, Kevin?
So far, good feedback from those who I've asked. It's also the case of going, like, I don't know if I should ask people, but people have received it very well, and people are really keen at finding out more about the wings. So, so it's out there, and I've finally got it on Take-A-Lot. So you can check out The Future of Work is Human on Take-A-Lot, and you can also catch it on Amazon. So it's out there in soft copy online. So it's exciting times.
Brilliant.
Craig, as we start today's show, what are the reminder points that we can share from last week's conversation?
Yeah, Kevin, thanks. So last week we covered the topic of connection between creativity and employee engagement. And we referenced the article titled Why and How CMOs Should Champion Employee Engagement. The article was written by Mari Hattar and was published on the 18th of October 2022 to Forbes.com. And we note the following 6 simple strategies that CMOs can use to drive engagement and loyalty amongst their employees. Strategy 1. Create a positive onboarding experience. So onboarding is an organization's chance to really make a great first impression on new employees, and market leaders really should go way beyond just the basic HR and IT overviews that we're also familiar with these days, Kevin. Strategy 2, promote knowledge sharing. So information sharing sessions really can teach new skills and insights. Examples can include the likes of insights into how a company has launched a specific campaign, how they've introduced new products to the market, and what the impact on customers and the organization has been. The third strategy is find ways to connect remote teams. Marketing leaders, team events, as team members get to know each other on a more personal level, they'll likely be more invested in collaborating to achieve their shared goals. Strategy 4 is recognize outstanding performance, make a habit of celebrating wins and recognizing employees who go above and beyond. Managers can also share campaign results in internal emails and newsletters, and employees can post new content on LinkedIn and tag some of their teammates. A really nice, simple shout out that can go a long way for building that morale. Strategy 6 is regularly gather employee feedback. 360-degree employee performance reviews, which include feedback from employees, manager, direct reports, and peers, all provide open and honest responses and can help hold employees accountable. And finally, Kevin, strategy 6 was help your team avoid burnout. And a way to help reduce burnout is by setting a day aside for no meetings, whether in person or online, and giving employees the time that they actually need to get the work done during business hours so they can actually, at the end of the week, close their laptops and disengage for some personal time. Those are the key reminder points.
Fantastic. Thank you, Craig. So guys, if you want to check that out, go and see it on the YouTube channel. You can check out the Lunchtime series on the YouTube channel and also on all your major podcast channels today. So Craig, what's on the agenda for today's conversation?
Kevin, as many businesses are in the 2024 budget development and finalization phase, I thought it'd be appropriate to establish what trends are emerging in respect of setting marketing budgets for the year ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a good one because considering the year we've had, 2023 has really pushed the agenda budget quite hard. So what are the trends that marketing heads should be aware of when setting up for 2024's budgets?
Kevin, I want to open the conversation with the following statement, and it notes the following. When it comes to marketing budgets, a common but flawed practice is to use average figures touted by well-meaning researchers. We know from experience that these averages are often taken at face value. And when budgets are lower than average, CMOs inevitably yammer for more spending power. And when they're higher than average, the CFO can find reasons to tighten the financial thumbnail screws. So I don't think the article could have positioned this reality more aptly, Kevin, because we know that the CMOs and CFOs are constantly in this tug of war around marketing spend and budget. And this is most definitely is a period of the year where we're going to see this heightened activity and some stresses and tensions occurring around this particular proposition.
But Greg, to the point we've chatted about, I think Coca-Cola was one of the brands that really amped up their marketing, especially in the COVID space in that era that we were having.
Yes.
But essentially, from a marketing spend, there were quite a few that we chatted about on the show that actually took their marketing up one notch, even though everything was quite dire and difficult times. So it becomes quite a fine line to kind of consider, what are we spending on marketing and how's this affecting finances?
And Kevin, you've actually hit on a really good point there that I'm going to touch on during our conversation, particularly when it gets to the likes of strategic marketers and the approach to budgeting for strategic marketers as opposed to other marketers, and that will become ever apparent as the conversation evolves.
Fantastic.
So the reference from the article titled "The End of Averages for Marketing Budgets" is an article written by Nada Takasoli and Christine Moorman, and it was published to Sloan Management Review on the 16th of November this year. So again, incredibly relevant and current feedback, Kevin. And the article opens with the following statement. Marketers have long benchmarked their budgets against their peers' spending, but it's time to seek better metrics than the average budget. And I really do appreciate that statement. So to set some context, the article examines findings from probably two of the most established annual chief marketing officer surveys that examines marketing budgets, but the authors look at the feedback through new lenses and they note the following. So the CMO survey is conducted biannually by Duke University, and this particular survey is facilitated by one of the authors of the article, Christine Moorman, and Christine's been managing the survey since 2008. So really good, deep understanding of the findings behind these particular surveys. The second survey is Gartner's annual CMO spend and strategy survey, which actually examines marketing budgets, marketing spend, and strategic priorities for CMOs. And it aims to show how CMOs are actually dealing with a variety of fiscal, geopolitical, and cultural realities, Kevin. The headline takeout from each survey is as follows. The CMO surveys found that 2023 marketing budgets, on average, represent 11% of revenues in the US. And the Gartner survey has found that 2023 budgets represent 9.1% of total company revenues across North America and parts of Europe. Now, if you extrapolate the same expected values and look at it in context of the fact that the global FMCG market size was estimated at $11.33 trillion for 2023, that's a significant amount of money for marketing budget allocation, Kevin. Getting back to the key trends, we note the following take-up from the CMA survey. B2C, business to consumer marketing budgets average 13.9% of revenues, while business to business budgets average 9.3% of revenues. And taking a slightly different view, product brands have a higher marketing budget at 11.4% of revenues than do service brands, professional service companies, etc., like yourself, at 10.3%, Kevin. Companies with 10 million or less in sales have the largest budgets at 16.8% of revenues, but this drops to about 9.5% for companies with $10 billion or more in sales. And interestingly, the companies with 10 million, at least with 50 or more, let me try that again. The companies with 50 or fewer employees have budgets in the region of 17% of revenues. That's a big percentage, while companies with 10,000 or more employees have budgets in the region of 9.8% of revenue. So a substantial difference in marketing allocation to headcount for the much smaller businesses, Kevin.
Craig, is there any specific reason why? Is it just because the business is big enough to not have to market?
No, so there are multiple reasons, and we'll get into some of the factors driving CMO, the different makeup of spend and budget relative to the different functions within organizations. So there's some marketing only businesses, and then there's a marketing plus other strategic imperative businesses as well. And the budget allocations do change across those business types. But I think 50 or fewer employees, again, it also depends on the nature of what those organizations are. As mentioned earlier, are they service brands or are they product brands? Service brands most definitely are needing to spend more money to get across the line. Product brands have in essence a much broader spectrum of channels to utilize as well. Service brands moving fairly recently into the e-commerce space, whereas product brands have really utilized those channels for years now, and the cost per engagement there is inevitably much cheaper than the high complex, much closer proximity kind of engagement models that service and B2B brands are needing to deploy, Kevin. So yeah, complex rationale and reasons, but we'll definitely extrapolate and expand on some of those as we go through the conversation.
So what control do CMOs actually have in setting their budgets, Craig?
Kevin, the article provides some great insights into this question, with the key takeout being that CMOs have different realms of control across the different types of companies covered in the two surveys, hence these varying values in marketing budgets. And the research notes the following on this point. In 28% of companies surveyed, marketers' job descriptions did not extend beyond communications to any operational responsibilities such as participation in sales or e-commerce activities or management of those teams. In these, what they call comms-only companies, marketing budgets were about half of the average at 5.6%. So immediately you can see, based on the nature of the role of the function of marketing, the spend in itself is much smaller under control of marketing. Such activities, communication activities include the likes of positioning, brand advertising, digital brand promotions, PR, social media, lead generation, and these are the activities that the CMOs in comms-only companies have under their mandate. In B2B comms-only companies, marketing budgets came in at 5.9%, or less than 2/3 of the industry sector, while in B2C comms-only companies, marketing budgets came in as low as 4%, or less than 1/3 of the industry sector average, Kevin. And the comparison between service and product brands it definitely demonstrated a similar story, with marketing budgets for service brands coming in at 6.1% of revenues and marketing budgets for product brands coming in at 5.1% of revenue. So there again, much higher spend and probably a much harder drive to market and position professional services brands than it is to position product brands. And the most important point to note, though, is that for comms only brands, budgets are actually larger for B2B and service companies than for B2C and product brands, the opposite of what the average analysis reflects, Kevin.
Craig, so just like a off-the-cuff question, quick. Why use an average, and why not sort of compare results from your own business to this year compared to last year, kind of thing? Why that strategy, or is that
you definitely have asked a very, very pertinent question there, and the next section I'm going to address that directly.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Step ahead. So Kevin, the report highlights a really important fact, that being that strategic marketers actually have the biggest budgets under control. And what we note here is that in companies where marketing is responsible for not only the communications function and role, but also for at least one other operational activity, such as sales, distribution, customer service and experience, even e-commerce or customer relationship management, the average budget is much higher, coming in at about 7.6% of revenues. So as the marketing CMOs and the marketing function take on more roles and become more complex, we see higher budgets falling under their control. Within these marketing plus operations companies, we note that the budgets are back to being higher for product brands at 8.6% of the revenue than for service brands at 6.8% of the revenue. So you see a very similar trend there, definitely expected due to the higher channel costs associated with the likes of marketing product brands, Kevin. The real difference is attributed to the inclusion of at least one strategic activity in the strategic marketer's remit. So such activities could include the likes of development of new products and innovation, market selection, even getting down into entry price and growth roles falling into their remit. And in this instance, the average budget for market functions responsible for both communications, operations, and strategy really jumps up and is falling in the region of about 13.4% across these companies, Kevin. So again, as you see immediately, the bigger take on of more functions that fall under marketing remit, the bigger the budget expectation and need is to position those businesses. In this instance, budgets are higher for business to consumer brands at 15% of revenues than for business to business brands at 11.8% of revenues. This being directly attributed to the fact that B2C marketers tend to have a much broader realm of control and remit than do B2B marketers, Kevin. But interestingly, budgets for these companies are also high for service brands at 14.5%, then for product brands at 12.8%. And again, possibly being attributed to customer experience spend and much higher cost per engagement for the closer proximity of driving B2B marketing.
Craig, but maybe I'm just asking a stupid layman's question. But isn't it, from all the marketing conversations we've had, isn't it just taking an average like this and kind of following the trends? Isn't that just a lazy man's way of doing marketing?
No, Kevin, average is not necessarily a bad strategy. Okay, it all comes about through if you're applying the right questions, logic, and analysis. Average isn't necessarily a bad strategy. There are certain parameters that you do need to add to the process or extract from the process to move the dial, to the left or right of average. Absolutely, but finding average as a starting point is not a bad strategy.
So I mean, so definitely then it's contextually, and it's also depending on the business and who you are. So there's a
category
whole criteria.
very much so. So sectors will have their own average.
Yeah.
Business types, products will have their own averages. Certain service-related companies in particular types of audience segments will have their own averages. So you can roll up to average across an entire market. You can roll up to average across a sector. You can roll up to average across a business type, and you can start segmenting down into audience segments and get averages across different businesses competing in the same space for the same audience segment. So average has a different meaning relative to the different
Yeah.
forms of application. But it's not entirely a no strategy. It is a place to start from, and it's something that you can always come back to as a reference check to see if you much higher or much lower than the average, because then there might be something that you're missing, or you've actually got something really unique in place and you're going to shoot the lights out.
I think that what you're saying now, that in context to the meaning of where you're positioning it, that's important as well.
Yes, very much so.
So how do marketers and then actually set budgets annually?
Kevin, I came across a really interesting article on LinkedIn that addresses this question in quite a bit of detail. And the article is titled 2024 Marketing Budget, the No Nonsense Guide. The article was published to Digital Storyteller's LinkedIn business page on 2nd of November this year. So again, really great, fresh, relevant content. The article makes for a great read and presents a number of simple tips on how to ensure smart allocation of budgets across the varying marketing channels. And I want to cover the first 3 tips in detail, Kevin. And there are about 7 tips that came through on this article, and I'll give the full list of tips, but just really the first 3 in detail because they make for a good read. So tip 1 is, picking up on one of your earlier questions, is review past performance. And it's about data analytics and return on investment assessment, Kevin. So in terms of data analysis, before allocating your budget, conduct a thorough review of your current marketing activities, including an examination of key performance indicators for each campaign. And that'll help you understand what worked and what didn't work. And then you obviously shape and build your budget accordingly. In terms of the return on investment assessment, by understanding which initiatives generated higher returns, you can make data-driven decisions about your budget allocation. You can also identify trends and recognize successful strategies while highlighting areas that require improvement. Tip 2 is set clear objectives. This is about strategic goal definition and marketing sales targets. In terms of strategic goal definition, establish what your strategic goals for 2024 are. Ask yourselves, are you planning new product launches? Are you wanting to expand in new markets? Or are you wanting to update your brand's image? All have a very different impact on what the budget makeup looks like. In terms of marketing and sales targets, it's about setting out the detail in relation to your specific marketing and sales objectives. Such objectives can include increasing your brand awareness, increasing lead generation, improving online conversion rates, or even hosting thought leadership events. And defining these goals and objectives early in the planning phase definitely helps provide direction and allows you to plan your resources strategically and allocate your budget more effectively to achieve each objective. Kevin, tip 3 is research industry trends. It's about keeping current and allocating an experimentation budget. I really did like this point. In terms of keeping current, it's important to be informed on industry innovation and trends that can impact your marketing strategy. This involves the likes of monitoring your competitors' activities and market trends in a proactive manner. If your competitors are planning significant moves like rebranding or expanding their market share, you definitely need to be prepared to respond with your own initiatives that keep your brand top of mind. In terms of experimentation budget, don't be scared to allocate a portion of your budget to experimentation, testing new approaches, merging technologies, or even novel marketing strategies that can give you a competitive edge, Kevin. And this budget allows you to explore innovative methods without actually risking your entire budget, providing room for a bit of adaptation and learning, Kevin. And then the remaining tips from this article are listed as tip 4 is identify priority channels. This is about channel analysis and budget allocation. Tip 5 is assess seasonality and campaigns. This is about strategic timing and resource allocation. Tip 6 is about evaluate internal capabilities and outsourcing needs. This is about team assessment and budgeting for external resources. And then finally, tip number 7 is about organic marketing strategy. And this is about helping establish a budget-friendly growth strategy, Kevin. And I definitely urge our listeners to read this article in detail, because these are really simple and easy to apply tips, and they definitely will help in preparing a more effective marketing budget for 2024, Kevin.
Craig, I mean, listening to them in the way that, identifying priority channels, assess seasonality and your campaigns, research industry trends. What I'm hearing, and I mean, you are one of the, the brand experts, one of the best ones I've ever known.
Thank you.
But I mean, is it correct in assuming that, like, as you hear it there, you can actually see why there's such an evolution of marketing in itself? Because marketing today compared to marketing 10 years ago, there might be some similarities, but it's an evolution of paying attention to what's required within marketing.
I love that. Yes. So evolutionary and iterative. So marketing has evolved both from a technology point of view, from a tactic point of view, from effectiveness point of view, and then just being able to, through data analysis and DRI assessments, being able to understand the engagement, the behavior, the participation, what's actually happening at the till point, and being able to bring that data back into the business and repurpose the information and really get to understand that data in an iterative way to make more informed, better decisions that make your marketing work harder and better the next time around. So it's an continuous evolutionary iterative process, and it's gonna continue for as long as you and I are alive. And as we know, we have the wonderful world of AI, which is plugged into the front end of marketing these days, and really bringing a lot more data and insight and effectiveness to the marketing function.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's what I'm also starting to recognize from all the shares that we've had so far in the last couple of years, is that the evolution of what marketing looks like and how it impacts business. It's quite fascinating. And that's why I see how fascinated you are from it, because I mean, there's so much, and we're still talking about it. It's amazing. But Craig, as we end today's show, like, what are the key takeaway points for today's for the listeners?
Kevin, referencing the article titled "Marketing Budget Planning for 2024," as published on LaunchTeamInc.com, we note the following tips and takeaway points. So, strong marketing partners can help leaders succeed in 2024 with the following: experimentation and scenario planning. So, design for increasing ambiguity and speed of change. Be ready, agile, and nimble. Fresh perspective. Changing customer expectations demand and updates to your customer assumptions. And this is part of that iterative journey that I talk about. Changing needs of customers, changing customer expectations, they all demand an update on how you are reading their needs and basing your marketing activities on the back of that. Automation in marketing technology, improved efficiencies through marketing and sales automation, and obviously, as I mentioned a short while ago, AI. Localization and product rationalization. Again, let the voice of the customer and market research help guide both your product and marketing localization. Kevin, one provincial border to another provincial border could have a fundamentally different need and delivery for marketing effectiveness. A frictionless e-commerce experience. E-commerce is now the most effective sales channel for B2B companies. Wonderful to see it growing. And then lastly, personalization. Highly personalized marketing is an expectation now, even in the world of B2B. And then the final 4 takeout points for today are noted as follows. Lovely statement. Budget is intent. Budget planning is not just a financial department exercise, Kevin. It helps to establish your intentions, whether those are in entering new markets, whether it's about building market share or improving measurability. Your budget has to reflect your goals. Point 2 here is aim for a healthy mix. This point really stood out for me, Kevin, and then here we note that the higher the revenue targets are set, the more diverse your marketing mix needs to be. Startup companies with limited budgets must choose carefully where to invest and should think in terms of maybe 3 to 4 cohesive campaigns in total, whereas more established companies should deliberately be adding channels to diversify their reach and improve their customer experience. Point 3 is plan for change. Scenario planning, A/B testing, and budget set-asides for opportunistic spending can definitely help you hedge your bet during rather turbulent times, which are ever apparent. And finally, it's time for new tactics. And I like the way the article notes that 2024 isn't the year for rinse and repeat. Really lovely statement that add in elements of account-based marketing, work through your approach around hybrid events, experiment more with AI, look at hyper-personalization, and crystallize your brand story to really clarify your value proposition in this ever-evolving and changing market, which is a wonderful, powerful final takeaway point here, Kevin. And those are the key takeaways for today's show.
Craig, I love that you're sharing this because it means as a business, I'm doing the right thing, because I'm already starting to think about this, and rinse and repeat is not, is like, it's just an occurrence that is like in the last couple of months now. It's like, okay, so like what's happening in 2024, and like how am I showcasing this brand and my brand, and I don't want to kind of do a rinse and repeat of what I've done.
Yeah,
So,
it's a wonderful statement, that.
yeah, because essentially it's that same kind of sentiment of like, well, it's worked, then why do you want to change it? But it's for me, it's quite heavily sort of pointing in the direction of, well, what is the growth? Like, how do we grow from where you are? And what does that look like? Because you can't get to where you want to go doing what you've done and expect it's the same kind of results. So yeah, there's rinse and repeat. Don't rinse and repeat, guys. Fantastic, Greg. I love that. So I do have a quote for you, and I thought it was quite apt because it speaks to marketing and why marketing is there in the first place. And Lee Odden is the CEO and co-founder of Top Rank Marketing, says content is the reason search began in the first place. And
that's lovely.
Yeah, so as the marketing team or as the leaders of that business, why are people searching for your brand in the first place?
That's fantastic. I really like that. Yeah.
It really gets you thinking.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the insights, and thank you for joining me. I will chat to you soon. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next week.
Yeah, Kevin, thanks. And hopefully we've got more stable connectivity.
Exactly, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
Have a good week. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.